Good morning. This video looks at a paper published just recently in Human Reproduction entitled Wearable Intelligence. Can we transform fertility tracking through digital innovation? This article is a free access and recommended reading, and it's the summary of a Escher Journal Club where a variety of participants reviewed a paper by Wang published in March. And they were specifically looking at the paper and evaluated the performance of wrist-worn temperature devices in predicting the occurrence of ovulation, in predicting when the next menses starts, and comparing their proprietary algorithms with established tracking methods. So this is a summary of the paper, but they looked at are wearable devices ready yet, the clinical utility of wearing devices, and aspects of data and accessibility. Before I go much further, as I always do in each video, I need to welcome you and add a disclaimer. My name is James Danger. I've got a PhD in embryology and I've been more than 50 years experience. The videos I'm posting to my YouTube channel are my attempt to bridge the gap between information you may need for your fertility treatment and the most recent publications available to your clinic staff. I'm not a medical person, and this information is not medical advice, but it may help you in knowing what questions to ask about your treatment with your doctor, and maybe to help in understanding the advice that you receive. And as always, I've allocated this space to a future supporter of IVF Daily. Whilst I'm just starting out, if you want to promote your company or business or clinical product, this may be the place you should consider. It's nice to think, though, in supporting this channel, your support may mean an IVF client becoming a better informed IVF client. You can click subscribe or become a sponsor or just make a donation to help others on their fertility journey. Okay. The primary publication the Journal Club was looking at was one published in March, also in Human Reproduction, by Wang et al. And they looked at the performance of algorithms using wrist temperatures for retrospective ovulation day estimates and next menses start day predictions, a bit of a mouthful, a prospective cohort study. This was also a free article and also recommended that you should read it. But what they asked the question was, can algorithms using a wrist temperature available on compatible models of iPhones and Apple Watch retrospectively estimate the day of ovulation and predict the next menses start day? What is known is that wrist skin temperatures is affected by hormonal changes associated with ovulation and the menstrual cycle and can be used to estimate the timing of cyclic events. They looked at over 260 menstruating females over 900 cycles, and who they logged their menses dates when they performed the urinary LH test to define ovulation, recorded their basal body temperature, and connected overnight wrist temperature data, and they contribute between 2 and 13 cycles. Without going to the details, not surprising since they published the paper, they surmised that algorithms using wrist temperatures can provide retrospective ovulation estimates and next menses start days predictions for individuals with typical or atypical cycle lengths. They obviously added some limitations to the study, and there were several limitations, including reliance on the LH testing to identify ovulation, which may mislead or mislabel some cycles. Additionally, the potential for false retrospective ovulation estimates when no ovulations occurred reinforces the idea that this estimate should not be used in isolation. The wider implication of the study, though, is that algorithms using wrist temperature can provide retrospective ovulation estimates and next menses start date predictions for individuals with typical or atypical cycle length. So just look at the biology very quickly. You have to remember that the watch temperature, the skin test, will be looking for temperature which is caused by a rise in progesterone, and the rise in progesterone starts within 24 hours of the rise of the LH hormone, and usually starts to become distinct within 1 day of the rise in progesterone. The urinary test, though, for LH is a very short, sharp detection, where basically the ovulating hormone is at very low levels, starts to rise increasingly over 24 to 36 hours, then plummets very quickly, and at that time ovulation has occurred. So when you can detect a positive sign on your ovulation stick, it means that ovulation is imminent, but maybe has not yet occurred. So, by way of background, in recent years, fertility tracking technologies have undergone a rapid transformation, moving beyond the traditional methods towards more personalised, continuous monitoring approaches. While conventional ovulation tracking methods such as calendar calculations, urinary LH test, and basal body temperature charting served as the foundation for fertility monitoring, they are often limited by usability, variability in accuracy, and reduced clinical utility for individuals with irregular cycles. But wearable devices have been shown to detect changes in the women's physiology during menses using wrist temperature and heart respiratory rate that can be used by algorithms to predict the fertile window. Wang reported that ovulation day estimates in about 80% of cases with a mean variability of plus or minus 1.5 days. So they're basically in 80 out of every 100 cases, they could predict with the estimate of 1 to 2 days when ovulation occurred. The participants in the journal club discussed concerns that different variables such as physical activity and sleep patterns can affect the sensitivity of the wearability of the devices and their tracking records. But they are more concerned with new technology to capture the remaining 20% that the wristwatch did not. And they also noted in a very larger study published 2 or 3 years ago by Bull, looking more than 600,000 cycles, they showed there was high cycle length variability, partly due to weight, suggesting that the associated error in a larger population may be a lot more than reported by Wang, more than just 1 to 2 days. The journal club participants also highlighted that Wang complemented wrist temperature tracking with the measurements of LH rise using urinary test strips to ascertain when ovulation occurred, and therefore they concluded that to improve the performance of wearable devices and related algorithms to predict ovulation, we must use different digital recordings integrated with different biomarkers in a broad population to be able to generalize the development method. It's a bit of a long-winded saying you need two different methods to detect ovulation. Studies have highlighted significant disparities in women's perception of their cycle length and the actual cycle length, but they noted that continued use of a menstrual tracking app seemed to increase alignment between the perception and the reality of cycle length, suggesting that a contribution of these tools to an individual's greater understanding of their own body, which is fair enough. The addition of wrist temperature tracking and other biomarkers and self-collected data could also enhance the detection of irregular ovulatory patterns that can help women to seek medical advice and to shorten diagnosis times in case of a particular condition proving present. The data could be used by clinicians to support early diagnosis and management of conditions like PCOS and health conditions such as endometriosis. The real problem or drawback will be that many clinicians will be unfamiliar with the data or results being presented despite expectations of having to diagnose and prescribe an outcome from them. They also noted that the digital health technology refer to systems that use computing platforms, connectivity software, and other sensors for healthcare and related users. It may be associated with very large volumes of data and just how safe that is. Although individuals are genuinely receptive to personalised information, for example, tailored to their reproductive intentions, some may experience discomfort or concern regarding the insights they receive, especially without the guidance of a health professional, that is. Some people will just accept what's on the phone as being correct, while others will be quite unsure whether it's actually correct or not. It's critical to recognise that not all data will be meaningful, clinically relevant, and evidence-based. Thus, it was concluded that providing users with wearable devices for fertility care may result with users with irrelevant and excessive information, and this can contribute to unnecessary stress, emphasising the importance of delivering clear, useful, and supportive insights. They also noted that despite growing interest, the application of artificial intelligence in wearable technologies remains certainly in its development, and in some cases it falls far short of its anticipated potential. It was pointed out that one person using a wearable device can generate 5 gigabytes of data daily, or 1.8 terabytes yearly, That's 18 terabytes over a decade. It's a huge amount of data, just in one person watch. It was concluded that ethical challenges persist in the adoption of wearable devices for fertility care, particularly in relation to proprietary algorithms, data ownership, and equitable user benefits. There were concerns about data privacy that they were increasing, especially regarding sensitive reproductive health information in jurisdictions with restricted rights. Ensuring algorithm accessibility, equity, and representativeness is therefore important. So they concluded that wearable devices are revolutionizing the way reproductive health is monitored, offering non-invasive, data-driven insights into menstrual cycles, fertility windows, and ovulation. These technologies, particularly when integrated with AI, hold significant promise for enhancing personalised care and facilitating early diagnosis of reproductive conditions. However, challenges remain regarding risk of potential anxiety over the accuracy of predictions, data overload, privacy concerns, and issues of accessibility and equity. Moreover, clinical utility is often limited by proprietary algorithms and the lack of data standardization, which hinders the integration of these tools into routine healthcare practices. Despite these barriers, the combination of wearables and AI offers a powerful opportunity to improve fertility care if ethical concerns about algorithm fairness and real-world validation are addressed. Well, that's all fair enough. But my personal comments on this is that many of the comments relate to issues with different algorithms and equity of access to technology. And I think that having different data sets or algorithms on different phones makes it very hard for a clinician and clinic staff to be able to always make sense or have faith in the data they're presented with. But I also make note that many of the ART cycles involve monitoring of natural cycles, in particular IUI and FETs. To me, it makes sense for a clinic to standardise their watches and only accepting data from a list of watches that they've approved. Or alternatively, the one that I would prefer is that clinics provide specific watches to clients, watches in which they have confidence to clients for during the duration of their treatment or a specific cycle. In which case, if you're doing an FET cycle, you're provided with a watch, standardised, you collect the data from that, and everyone knows what the data is because it's coming from the same source. And the watch is handed back at the end of the cycle. So this paper was focused on the monitoring of women's fertility cycle, but their use in clinical settings offers significant benefits if applied carefully. So here are some other recent articles. There's quite a lot of publications in this area. There have been 2019, 2022, 2025. So this is an area which is going to increase in focus for fertility clinics and undoubtedly will become part of clinical management in the near future. So I'd like to finish here. I'd like to thank you for persevering to the end of this talk. I understand IVF is a very personal journey and that involves the action of many. It helps to understand all aspects of that journey, and I hope this helps. If you like the information provided, tell other IVF clients about the service and please subscribe. I'd like to stop now and wish you well-being.